keep ramping up Kyler and see how he progresses through the week. And
you're hot.
If it's not Kyler, then it's going to be Clayton Tune.
Whatever. Give me a break. Howard Balzer joins us now. Go PHNX.com. Cardinals beat writer. You follow him on Twitter at HBalzer721. Can you just explain this? What's going on, Howard? And who in your mind will be starting in Cleveland on Sunday?
It's a great question. And I think all of our reaction when we heard that on Monday morning, which was interesting just because he announced it to us before, that early in the week. So right away, I suspected there was an agenda and a plan in mind here. But from what he said, we kind of took away that it would probably be Kyler Murray. Then, of course, within a half hour of him saying that, both Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport reported that the plan was to start Clayton Tune, but then again, that could change. So a lot of this is about gamesmanship, just like last week with those practice designations and all that. It was all to send it out there to the other team that, hey, you've got to prepare for both quarterbacks because you don't know which one it's going to be. But like I said, our sense was it probably would be Kyler. My sense now, 3 days later, and it's just my gut feeling, is it will be Clayton Tune, and I question whether Kyler will even be active.
Wow.
I think that Jeff Driscoll, who was just signed back to the practice squad, will probably be either elevated or signed to the roster, and that he will be the backup. Because in my mind, if Tune starts and Kyler is the backup, well, then what's the point of doing that?
Exactly.
If he's in a good enough spot to be able to be the number 2, then he's in a good enough spot to start. And from now, granted, everything we see in practice is only the first 20 minutes. So that all could be a ruse for all of us. But in practice, the 2 days so far, it's been Driscoll and Tune working together and Kyler working in another part. And he's still only throwing passes to the practice squad, wide receivers, and tight ends, while Driscoll and Tune are throwing to the guys on the roster. And then yesterday, and also today, in a drill where they were taking snaps under center and handing the ball off to a running back, Clayton Tune was taking the snap from the starter, yelled the throw hole, while Driscoll and Murray were taking them from other guys. So that's why I say my sense is going to be Clayton Tune for this week. I might end up being 100% wrong, but that's my feeling right now on Thursday, 3 days before Sunday's game.
I'm just curious if we lived in a bigger media market and we were getting, say if Jonathan Gannon is going on the Pat McAfee show, like we see, Kevin O'Connell and all these other head coaches in the NFL. And do you think that things would be a little bit different if there were more eyes on this organization and more pressure by the media to answer questions in a timely fashion?
I don't know if it would be different because I think every coach is different, certainly.
Yeah.
And we've asked the questions every which way with Jonathan Gannon numerous times over the last few months, and we asked them in numerous ways Monday. And he would always say, "We'll see," "We'll see," or he'll say, "We'll see how it is at the end of the week." And at one point he said, "Hey, I know you guys hear me say 'we'll see' a lot of times, but a lot of times I don't know." And I think here's an interesting part of it too with Kyler that I need to point out. And I wrote this the other day on GoPHNX.com. When he started practicing 2 weeks ago, and he also announced that to us before practice on that Wednesday. And he said, he was asked, what was Kyler's reaction when you told him he was practicing? And he says, no, he came to me and said, I'm ready for practice. And Gannon has said all along that Kyler's being comfortable and all that has input into this situation. Well, on that day 2 weeks ago, we then asked, who's going to make the decision about when he plays and when he starts? And Gannon said it'll be an organizational decision, but he, referring to Kyler, will be a part of that. So it could very well be that Kyler hasn't walked up to him yet and said, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm comfortable with everything. I'm comfortable taking the snaps. I'm comfortable in this offense. I'm ready to play. Maybe he hasn't said that yet. I don't know that it's true or not, but you can't eliminate the potential for that being part of this whole equation. But again, in answer to your first question, I think when you have a situation like this, hey, hey, in New York, they had a big thing with Daniel Jones, for several weeks. And the head coach there with all the New York media danced around it for several weeks. So it's not like the first time, especially when it's a quarterback. Obviously, it ramps it up and there's more focus on it. But when it's happened in other markets, big, small, or in the middle, whatever it is, the coaches tend, they don't want to say anything until they really know what the situation is going to be.
And Howard, I talked about that. I said one of the things is how does Kyler Murray feel? The reaction to the knee after practices, after full go, to what you said as far as all the above, to say, hey, look, I'm good to go. Because if he's healthy, he's good to go. He's going to start. Because I guarantee you, if he's good to go and he's healthy and this team starts tune over him, they're going to have a mutiny in that locker room knowing their guy, who they all love, that being Kyler Murray, gets the backup role. So to your point, if he's healthy, he's good to go, he will be starting against Cleveland.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think there's any doubt that he's been medically cleared. He is healthy. But that's, different than going out there and running an NFL offense in a game, especially an offense that you just started taking snaps with that offense 2 weeks ago. And it's not like you're taking all of the snaps because you're getting other guys ready. So, all those things enter into it. And here's an interesting part, too, is that I was talking to a guy who covers the Browns in Cleveland. He had called me asking about the Cardinals and all this stuff and Murray and other ththings about the team. And he says, that, he asked me, can Clayton Tune do RPOs? And I said, yeah, he definitely can. He showed the ability to move in preseason. He has shown that he can definitely do that. And he says, well, that is the kryptonite, he told me, in Jim Schwartz's defense. With the way they play, with their aggressiveness and the wide nine and all that, they've been burnt by teams doing RPOs with the quarterback running the ball. And, hey, we saw that with Joshua Dobbs. It's probably the best thing he did with this team the first 8 games is some of the design runs. Well, here's an interesting question. Are you comfortable with the first game that Kyler Murray plays going against the Cleveland Browns, having RPOs being a part of the offense? Do you want to subject that to him that quickly, especially against a defense that is susceptible potentially to it? So I think all of these aspects go into it in terms of being ready to play in an NFL game. Drew Petzing said the other day, this would be like being ready to play a game on July 28th. Now, that's maybe a little exaggeration because that's the start of training camp. But, this is Kyler Murray now, basically his 3rd week of training camp practices, and he's gotten a lot less snaps with the ones than he would have gotten if it was training camp and he was healthy and taking most of the snaps with the first unit.
So with what you've just thrown at us, do you believe that you will see Kyler Murray the following week against Atlanta, or is that a coin flip as well?
I don't know if it's a coin flip. I think there's a lot bigger chance of it happening the next week because that would have this week under your belt. You'd have next week. And, who knows? I guess we can't eliminate the thought of, well, what happens with Clayton Tune? Suppose the guy goes out there and plays pretty good. Maybe they say, okay, we can wait another week with Kyler Murray. But I think he's going to be really, really pushing even more and more as each week passes. And I believe that it's a very strong possibility that it's going to be next week. And if obviously, that'll be the case if he starts this week. But if he doesn't, I still believe it will be next week that he will get that first start because, hey, the Cardinals want, obviously, to get a bunch of games with him under his belt. And there's still enough games left to get a real feel for him and to see how he does in this offense. The one aspect, too, is there's going to be some rust when he gets out there.
Sure.
That's just that's realistic. The sooner you get him out there to get that rust off, the better it is. And that's why I know a lot of people probably say, well, then play him this week then. Who cares if it's Cleveland? Who cares if it's a good defense? Go out there and play. And I can understand that aspect of it.
Howard, I got 30 seconds, but I need to squeeze this in regards to the bombshell, another bombshell off the field with Michael Bidwill and allegedly berating employees in public and all this other stuff. Do you feel that this is going to really start to get, I hate to use the word juicy, but it's going to be an issue, a major issue for this organization with the National Football League?
Well, with the league. That's the key question.
Yeah.
And I think for that to happen, there will have to be some people who won't be anonymous, that will come forward to tell their story to whoever. And that would force the NFL, I think, to look a lot closer at it. It is revealing, though, when the team issues statements and responses to this stuff and says, well, these are all things that happened years ago. We've made changes. Michael Bidwill has gone to leadership classes. he's done this, he's done that. So in effect, they're acknowledging that a lot of this is true, which raises a question to me. If you're running an organization, I don't care if it's a football team or a restaurant or whatever it is, you have to take classes on how to treat people. you have to take classes on not berating people in front of other people, and especially in situations here where it was in front of a large meeting room, not just with a couple people around, but with a whole bunch of people. Do you really need a class in that? So that raises some other questions, maybe not to the real point of everything that's gone on, but it looks bad, obviously. And, you just hope that it is true that those things aren't there anymore. But, reading the story yesterday where it talked about someone saying walking on eggshells, I think I remember mentioning that with you guys back in April or May when this all came out. Mm-hmm. And I had talked to a couple people who worked for the organization who aren't working there now that I know fairly well. And they told me the same thing. Working there was like walking on eggshells. And
wow.
Kyle Odegaard, who used to work for them and just left 2 years ago, he tweeted yesterday about the culture and what it was like to work there. And it was a big part of why he left the organization.
Howard, great job as always, man. Have a great weekend. Thanks for the time.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Howard Balzer. Follow him on Twitter, hbalzer721, as well as go PHNX online. Check him out as podcasts and everything he writes on the website there. I wish the Cardinals had come out with those statements. How about publishing Michael Bidwell's results in those classes?
Well,
Is he getting a B or B plus? Or
here's the thing, guys.
How's he doing?
Here's the thing.
You got a break, but you have
there's
a very
anger
valid
management.
point.
No, here's the thing. There's the classes, I think, is code for therapy or anger management sessions. I think that's what that means.
For Rock and Manuch, Jimmy B next.
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Let me say this about